iRacing IndyCar Open Championship makes its way out to the best coast of America. Here from the dry lake of the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, ready to unleash 24 Dallara IR18s and the best that iRacing has to offer. Delighted to have your company once again here on a Monday night for IndyCar action on RaceSpotTV. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to be walking you through all of the action. Unfortunately, we missed out on the racing a week ago to kick off a brand new season of racing action. However, it was fast, it was furious, and it was frenetic at America's National Park of Speed. The drivers made their way over to Road America to kick off Season 3, not Season 2 of this iRacing IndyCar Open Championship. And a doubleheader of road courses sees us link back up with the NDT IndyCar Series before next week, the first of the oval rounds, when we make our way to the Tricky Triangle and to the Pocono Raceway. Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course will see us open up the month of July, and a very busy month of July as well for these drivers, heading across 5 different races. And such intriguing races, of course, for us to continue to navigate our way on through. We're going to have championship fights to talk about later on in the season. There is no shadow of a doubt about that. But at least for the time being, the full focus can be on the drivers that are going to be racing in the here and the now for what lies in store. And what lies in store in particular? Well, a 42-lap race where drivers are required to use both compounds of tires. They get the Red Mark alternate tire, slightly softer in its nature, but is going to wear a little bit faster, you would suspect. They also have the primary black sidewall tire, which is a little bit harder and a little bit less grippy, but more durable in its nature. Going to be interesting to keep an eye on all of that. And don't forget, you want to keep an eye on your favorite team, your favorite driver over the course of the 42 laps. Well, head on to timing.racespot.tv, where you can follow along with live timing and scoring powered by our friends at ATVO. Drivers are on track right now for qualifying, I can tell you, and most drivers have already set their times. Only a couple of drivers still out there on track. There's Matt Taylor in the MadWorks number 20, runs his way to the end of lap number 2, so that's his qualifying session officially in the books, jumps his way up into the 16th position. The other car that we see on track and rising their way towards the corkscrew, one of the most fearsome corners in all of motorsports, of course. Hayato Matsuda dives down in towards Rainy Curve now. Again, delighted you join us here on a Monday night. We have 24 machines, at least from what it seems as though right now. Christian Hillgaard, fastest of them all. Seb Alexander then down in second. I say down in second, alongside in second, really. Canapino and Burrell, third and fourth. And Carasala and Aiden Matisse round out your top 6 with less than half a second splitting the field right now. This is one of my favorite tracks in the world. Had the pleasure of being trackside at the end of last year with the fine folks at Porsche for Wrenchport Reunion. I got to see all kinds of classic Porsche race cars. The only thing missing, well, didn't get to see their IndyCar run around the track. I did get to see it, though, in the flesh. That was great. Oh, and what a celebration it was. We saw some great esports racing that weekend as well. I think we're going to be in for something special, though, over the course of the 42 laps that lie ahead of us. Let's go down trackside, take a look at the starting grid. We've got plenty of time. They get a full formation lap with which to build up some temperature into their tires and to get themselves steeled for the task that is at hand. Running down, of course, to the starting grid, where Satellite Racing 106.195, enough for Hillgaard to lead us to the green alongside of the Indy Alliance Racing driver of Seb Alexander, Augustin Canapino in those Juncos Hollinger Racing colors, alongside of Kevin Burrell for Indy Alliance Racing, Sam Carasala, and then Aiden Matisse rounding out the top 6. Rounding down to 7 to find Andreas Eick, no longer for Team Talent, now representing Powerslide Motorsports, with John Baderfer to his right-hand side. Brandon Roseborough and then Philip Kraus make up the rest of the top 10. Phil Kraus has got some work to do, slightly off beat for him in qualifying. Rashad Craig and then Mitch Welker, 11th and 12th positions, with Rob Malechka, the double 500 winner from the iRacing Indy 500 week, alongside of Liam Quinn in that Team Talent machine. It'll be Brian Carey, Matt Taylor, and then Austin Espety brings the Tanner face back onto a Monday night. Alan Berteau rolls alongside him. He's still within about 2 seconds, though, of your pole time, with Nicholas Sudik and Olivia Hayward on the bookend of the top 20. Node Bechaku ML Umadu rounds alongside of Lucas Lodato in 21st and 22nd. Hayato Matsuda and Michele Costantini. That's not Michele Costantini. No, that is Michele, just to be clear. He's just decided that he doesn't want to risk his I rating, so he lines up at the very back of the starting grid. No shade thrown whatsoever, though. I see the chat on RaceSpotTV. If you're watching on YouTube, you're watching on Twitch. Delighted to have you along. And boy, are we going to be in for something interesting. I think especially with the way that the weather seems to have kind of played itself on out, I think there's going to be a bit of a split in terms of the call on tires. We're racing into the evening. It's 20 degrees air temperature here in the virtual Monterey. Can tell you, live from the virtual Bay Area, or the real Bay Area, I should say. It's definitely a little bit warmer than that inside of my broadcast studio today. 36 degrees on the track itself. Not that warm. We'll see what that means with 42 laps again. Just a reminder, up on deck in front of us all. On that left side, you can see the tires that everyone is starting on. Ignore the fact that it's the green Waiulis. It is still, though, very representative of those starting on the alternates and those electing to start on the primaries. The Waiulis, of course, used on the street courses, and the alternate tires used here on the regular road courses. There you go. Look at the proper starting graphics on terms of their tires. So only Andreas inside of the top 8 electing to start on the harder compound. So Betafer and Roseborough and the pair of Hydro Race geodesic racing machines might have some work to do. Outside of that, Phil Kraus electing to initially begin, it would seem, on the... Oop, as that's not entirely ideal. The joys of live broadcasting, ladies and gentlemen. Just one person behind the scenes here. Oh, and they're back on track. Wonderful. No scares. We were very, very bummed to unfortunately miss out on our coverage last week. Road America, such a fine track, of course. And we'll be heading there in the upcoming VCO IndyCar Challenge, powered by Open Wheels, in which a handful of these drivers out on your screen will be taking part in. Going to be exciting, of course, the summer that lies ahead. IndyCar Butt Kicker Pro Series qualifying, not far away as well. So much to look forward to in the summer of IndyCar that beckons ahead. Pace car ready, though, to peel off and away. Field about to be left in Christian Hilgard's control. And Satellite Racing at the front of the field alongside of Indy Alliance Racing, ready to get rocking. How is this going to go? Here from the best coast of the USA with track temperatures relatively cool, we have a split in terms of the tire strategy. It's the softer compound up front. Already drivers on the push to pass behind, and green flag flies here in the Jewel Lakes of the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. They streak down to the Andretti hairpin, poking to the inside behind Kevin Burrell. I believe that's Aiden Matisse. And it's a tidy start through the field of 24, down now towards turn 3, where you've got to be very, very careful not to run wide and onto the gravel. We've got some Canopinos held on to 30s, fended off the challenge from Kevin Burrell. In return, Matisse slides behind. Carasala drops to 6th. Great move on the opening corner from a couple of these drivers to try and take advantage. Now, you rise to what is the scariest corner of the track. There are no ifs or buts about it. You roll your way up through this roller coaster of a left-hander, and now, well, it's towards the corkscrew. This is where you plunge down the hill. Try to find your turn-in point, and in the case of Seb Alexander, slide off and avoid being collected by the path of oncoming traffic. Austin Espete's battling with Nicholas Sudik behind. Those were the two multicolored machines rolling through your shot, but it's allowed a bit of a breakaway. That mistake from Alexander. Lucas Lodato in the Bearcat Motorsports machine also gets tangled up in drama on the end of the opening lap. But it's Hilgard with a 2.5 second advantage very, very early on. You can hear the rumble of the engines. Wonder if Lucas Lodato got maybe tangled up as a result of what happened to Seb Alexander. The replay, though, as ever, will tell us a lot more. No real separation, though, between the primary and the alternate running cars just yet. That is going to be the factor to keep in mind. Here's a look at the replay as they roll their way up the hill. Just watch on board. You see the hands. Alexander's already gone around a little bit loose. And lights up the rear, and fortunately avoids beaching it. That could have been a lot more dangerous. Lucas Lodato seemingly has already gone around at this point, so cycle back to him, climbing up to what I did mention, I believe, is the most treacherous and scariest corner on the track, and rear end's already gone around on him. Balance of the car maybe not exactly to his liking. Hilgard, though, End of lap 2. Already half a second now built on this lap alone. He has the clean air advantage. What can he do with it? You can see Tower lighting up like a Christmas tree. Canapino, Burrell, Matisse, all using that 60 to 70 horsepower advantage. Just pushing them down that straightaway. We jump on board with a 16. Nice and smooth onto the power. Remember, red sidewall tire, expecting that to be a little bit softer in its nature, a little bit more grippy in the early stages, but might be a little less durable. We've got cool track conditions. Mitch Welker's made up some headway as well. 4 positions gained in the All-American iRacers with Project 2 machine. Michele Costantini up 11 spots. Elected to start down the back by virtue of being in his Smurf account. And here he comes onto the back of Liam Quinn. Up the inside through Rainy Curve. Confidence, and on the part of Costantini, slides his way on forward. A little bit out wide, kicks up the gravel. And now in behind, Indy Alliance Racing's Rashad Craig. 2 spots away from a top 10. End of the 3rd lap for him. A Smurf account, by the way, if you're unfamiliar with the term, that basically on iRacing just means a second account. Michele has another account with plenty of iRating, of course, but you know, one thing to note is that he's actually racing in the middle of the night for him, often when his internet service provider does updates and stuff, and so we've seen him race on a Monday night before and his internet's dropped out on him. Don't want to risk that and risk the iRating associated with it, and so instead we see him use that second Smurf account. No risks being taken. On board with Sam Carasala in set. So let's rise our way up towards the corkscrew once more. And this is a great camera shot to see that elevation. Really just invites the back end to step around if you don't get that pitch, that weight transfer just right. Slightly further behind, I wonder if one driver's got it slightly wrong. Oh, that's hard into the wall. And new Powerslide Motorsports driver Andreas Eick watching his rejoin and being as careful as he can. Big old lick. And seemingly not the only driver involved in issues. The Madworks machine of Matt Taylor off the track momentarily to be joined by Olivia Hayward in the Prismatic Motorsports entry. One by one, Laguna Seca bites. And remember, limited runoff to take advantage of at this track. Oh, there's a look to the inside. Ooh, John Baderfer is getting rather antsy. And up through this crucial left-hander. Out wide goes Aiden Matisse. Opens the door for not one, but maybe 2. Can Sam Carasala squeak his way through? Yes, he does. Brandon Roseborough doesn't force the issue. It's good, respectful racing through all of these drivers. Who said you can't make moves at Laguna Seca? Ride with Welker over the shoulder. This is tough. This is the point of the run as well where your tire's probably just about going off. Might be a little bit of damage as well on that right front wing of Aiden Matisse. Hard to tell from some of the camera angles, but you can just tell, definitely not feeling like he can throw the car around as confidently. Phil Kraus battles though with Michele Costantini. Officially now, alternate tires run at the front of the field. And Costantini, plus 15. Don't count him out of the win just yet, I'd say. He's only 10 seconds off the back of your leader. Never say never. Although, maybe he does need to apologize slightly to poor Andreas Eick there. We'll take one more look at it. It starts out of the corkscrew. Now, hard to really tell, to be honest, from that particular angle if there was a bit of netco between them, but regardless, there was contact. There's what happened first to Taylor slightly wide. Olivia Hayward in sympathy follows as well. Seb Alexander's recovery, by the way, you've seen him just pass ML Amadou, so he's up to 20th. And if you're wondering how Michele Costantini's been able to slice and dice his way to the front that quickly, well, that's what happens when you're in that Coanda Esports machine. Christian Hillgaard, though, does lead by a solid 5 seconds. We better give him his due right now. Pressure is being applied at this point to Canapino, who sits in second spot. Although now by Kevin Burrell, John Bader slightly further behind. That satellite racing car looks like it is very much on rails. It's up to the corkscrew for the 7th time of asking. Over-rotates for a moment, I thought. Whew. That could have been close for comfort. Andreas Ike, by the way, did head down pit lane after his incident. But he is the only driver to have availed himself of the trip to pit lane so far. Just watch the replay, by the way. I got overexcited. Christian Hillgaard looked absolutely fine on the replay. Michele Costantini inserts himself, though, into the fight for 7th. On the button, though, for the 2nd time today. Muchwelka responds. You can see them both on the left-hand side, illuminated in the green. Costantini, though, in the all-white, going to make his way on past. Nathan Matisse just continuing, though, to frustrate. With that little bit of wing damage that we suspect that he has. Doing just enough. More importantly, though, I think Phil Krause will be very, very happy with where he sits right now. He is only around 12.5 seconds off of your race lead as we jump on board with the private label Team Hype and Powerslide Motorsports driver. Yet to use a push to pass. Not sure quite exactly how he's feeling on using the rest of this race, though, given that at some point he might need to bail down to pit lane a little bit early, given that we have these cool track conditions. You can see the track map. Not really seeing too much separation for any of these drivers to fall into. Vince Cusi asks, is the primary tire harder? Yes, indeed. It's a much harder compound as Michele Costantini slides his way on forward. Hot knife through butter there on the 16 of Matisse. And can Mitch Welker follow on the button as well? And to the inside, going to surely make it look easy. This is where, if you're the car with damage, all you're trying to do is minimize the bleeding. It's close. Fight back around the outside. He'll give it a good go, but can't do too much more. This is where they begin the climb as well, from the very bottom of the track effectively. And it's really, really pronounced. Often in the world of sim racing, you feel like you get a sensation for the elevation. I promise you. Not true here. Down into the corkscrew. Watch for a tree. That's your turn-in reference point. Advice I was told by a driver from the real world, carried forward to the sim world. You best believe that. Rob Malechka may have just had an internet drop-off. We'll keep an eye on that, though. See whether it's going to blink back into green or going to drop him from the race server. Streak across the line, though, in front of Barney the Flagman, with Phil Krause as mentioned. First driver on the harder primary compound of tire. It's still Christian Hillgaard that leads, with Hayato Matsuda just jumping down onto pit lane. Augustin Canapino, the Juncos Hollinger Racing driver that competes with Williams Esports in the sim world, but racing today alongside his Powerslide Motorsports counterparts. Trying to slice his way up through turn 6, and look how wide he goes. Just kicks up that smallest bit of gravel. Bounces over the inside momentarily. Through Rainey, trying to just be as smooth and precise as you can. Now we're going to cross the line and complete lap 10 this time by. At what point do you pit? That's probably the question that some are starting to wonder. In these cool track conditions, you will use a bit more fuel. You've got to remember that. Let's say we're probably leaning towards around a 24-lap fuel window. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go 24 full laps. Especially if you started on the primary compound of tire and you know it's only getting cooler. Look how gray the sky is getting. We started at 36 degrees Celsius. And ladies and gentlemen, we're down to 33. That's noticeable. Definitely something to keep an eye on. Something else to keep an eye on and keep your mind on, I think, in many ways is, well, just how treacherous pit entry and pit exit can both be. Romain Grosjean had that crash in a pace car a couple of years ago. That is Hayato Matsuda making a very, very easy-to-do mistake as he rolled his way off of pit lane as one of the first drivers to make his way down onto the box. Just way overshoots his braking reference and never going to make the corner. And unfortunately, that seemingly has seen him return to pit lane. As mentioned, Agustin Canapino sometimes races with the team at Williams Esports. He was racing this weekend in the top split of the iRacing Watkins Glen Slicks Hours alongside of Sammy Matty Trogan, riding in second. And now his new teammate Phil Krause in that Powerslide Motorsports car gets past Aidan Matisse. Sammy Matty and Agustin had a little bit of a difficult day, all things considered, in the LMP2 category in the Williams Esports Chill Blast car, but their teammate and their teammates in the Williams Esports Academy entry ended up coming out on top. Big shout out to Beckham Jasir and to Robin Glerum for their victory there. Seb Alexander has passed the Tanner face-laden machine of Austin Espety. And if there was going to be a livery of the race award, you best believe it's going straight to that car. I mean, look at it. What more could you ask for on the side of your machine? Other than Tanner Watkins, former president of OpenWheels.com. So much commitment. You can just see wanting to turn in as early as possible, but recognizing as well the earlier you turn in, the riskier you are in terms of how close you get to the inside. And that sausage curb that's there. Kevin Burrell has dropped back slightly from Canapino. Badefer in the Hydra Race geodesic machine. On board we ride. Smooth hands at work here. Not fast hands, smooth. Yet to see much push to pass usage either from some of these drivers. That's going to pop up on your left-hand side. They all have 10 to start with. Badefer, Karasala, and Hilgard all yet to avail themselves of the extra horsepower available. Hilgard's off and gone. There's Canapino. There's Burrell. Badefer, Karasala, Roseborough, Costantini, and then the margin builds to Welker to Krause. To be fair, that camera angle probably shows the elevation change quite well. And yeah, Vince Cusi, you are so correct. The Williams Esports community car. Oh, I'm so frustrated that I didn't make that joke once on the broadcast at the expense of Zach Sweeney. How dare I? Costantini, past Roseborough. Like I said, don't count him out of the race victory contention here. He's still only 10 seconds. Now 9.5 off the back of your race leader. There's a potential. There's a chance. Hayato Matsuda, as mentioned, by the way, headed out of pit lane, had that incident. He was not the only driver to leave pit lane. Can inform you that Rob Malechka, internet issue for him. He was able to leave the confines of pit lane once again. Olivia Hayward having a bit of an excursion over the top of the gravel. And oh no, Hayato Matsuda has made another appearance on the RaceSpotTV replay machine, this time just with a little bit of a wide line out through the final corner, and that seemingly might officially be day done for him. Rashad Craig passed by Aidan Matisse. Right off the back of the number 7 Indy Alliance Racing driver. As down towards the final corner they go. 10th position now on the side of Craig. But with 3.5 seconds to close to the next driver on the primary compound of tire. Remember, we expect that potentially for Craig and Krause, the window opens as soon as inside of the next 3 laps. Will they be that brave, though? That's the question. Robert Malechka, by the way, I asked him what the strategy was at the start of this race. He said, no idea. So very useful from him. Very, very handy. So, you know, sometimes drivers complain that they don't, commentators don't know enough. The problem is, though, that, you know, you go and ask them for help and they don't then tell you what they want you to know. I don't know how that's meant to work, but anyway, on board with Costantini, down to 7 push-to-passes left. So remember, he is definitely willing to use the button when he wants to. Vince Cusi says drive fast is the strat. That is indeed what Rob Malechka, I think, has kind of been advocating for as well. It's what Costantini's been advocating for too. So a question, by the way, or at least a request to show more of the number 14 car. Not sure why we'd want to see Liam. Hashtag blame Liam. Poor Liam's getting thrown under the bus on the broadcast. He doesn't even know about it. But the main reason we're not showing him is because, unfortunately, he's in no man's land right now. In 12th position. 3 seconds back from Matisse. 6 seconds in front of Brian Carey in that Powerslide Motorsports car. Only real close grouping is now behind third, where Kevin Burrell really has lost the back of Canapino. A group that theoretically can go back as far as Mitch Welker, who's got within touching distance of his target in front of him, but I think, 2.3 seconds, he's out of drafting range. Realistically, it's just 3rd through 7th, where Brandon Roseborough sits behind Costantini. But officially now, 16 laps in the books. Hashtag blame Dane. Definitely blame Dane. More of that. Less of the blame Arjuna, please, Vince. Otherwise, we'll start talking about wet toast. 6.3 seconds, though, the gap for Christian Hilgard. Fastest lap is also held by your race leader, albeit not in the last handful of laps. Last lap time by was closer to a 1:08.2 for the Satellite Racing entry. And if you're curious how that kind of stacks up between 1st and 3rd, there's a better sort of a comparison in terms of the last 3 lap times. Sam Carasala passed by Michele Costantini. That was nice and easy up towards the corkscrew. And you can see as well, Costantini is faster when he wants to be. He's within 9.5 still, even with making these moves. It's always fun just to keep an eye on where the Italian is just continuing to charge. 19 positions gained so far. Crazy. Maybe we shouldn't be too surprised. Coanda Esports were the standout in the pre-qualifying period for the VCO IndyCar Challenge powered by Open Wheels. First race coming up June 29th, not far away, where they qualified drivers 1st through 6th. There were 70 drivers that attempted to set a qualifying time, and Coanda had the fastest 6. Remarkable. Very much shows that Zach Campbell leading the charge with Costantini, Michael Gianni, Michael Romanidis, Xander Reed, Elliot Veyron, some of the names to watch. Now Sam Carasala lock up towards the corkscrew. He's compromised. Down through Rainey they go. It's such a physical experience as well. No power steering, don't forget. Pit window officially open. On to lap 19 for your leader. Will Kraus, will Craig dive to the box this time by? Answer is no. They don't think it's worth it just yet. But Brandon Roseborough to the inside of Carasala makes his move happen. Slides his way up into 6th position in that black and gold entry. Vince Cusi, that's not fair. Coanda fleeing to a championship where Redline doesn't compete seriously. Did you see the pre-qualifying results? Team Redline, their best driver, Diogo Pinto, 1/4 of a second per lap slower than Zach Campbell over 10 laps. Gustavo Ariel, Florian Labigra, the only other Redline drivers that automatically qualified. Sam Coiter and Josh Thompson will be in the field courtesy of the selection process, granting them an entry in the field of 40, but Coanda have 6, Redline have 5. It's going to be a fun fight. Very fun fight, and building up to what lies ahead as well. Now more push to passes being used. Does that mean Michele Costantini at the end of the tire life going to slide to the inside of a black and gold machine? This time though it's John Baderfer who shapes to try and cover the long way around. You can really do so if you then grab the inside into the next corner, out through turn 3. You've got the hospitality viewing area right on the outside, and what a view the VIPs had. 2x2, still filing their way on through. Costantini into the gravel, losing his momentum, and back into 5th with Badefer holding on. Seb Alexander and Brian Carey fighting further behind as well. Action up and down through the field. The lake bed producing the action. Carey, the Canadian, holding on the primary compound of tyre. Costantini's got through on Badefer as well. Eyes in the back of your head needed to follow everything happening right now. It was a small mistake from Badefer that opened the door for that move to be made. I'm maybe a bit surprised that no reaction and no dive down to pit lane. This is the mistake. All 4 of the Firestone tires into the gravel. And now Costantini officially, for the first time this race, more than 10 seconds off of your race lead. Still yet to see Phil Krause, yet to see Rashad Craig make their way down towards pit lane. You'd expect them potentially to be the first to do so, albeit that will be in the back of their mind. So as Krause begins to climb his way out through turn 5, a pit stop cycle probably costing you close to 30-40 seconds here. He would find himself a little bit closer, I think, than he would want to the likes of this. Well, Austin Espety and Nicholas Sudik, Tanner Face, not really helping. Austin Espety hold on in the Team Talent machine, and so the All-American iRacers, Nick Sudik in that pink and blue entry, forward. 2 positions gained since the start of this race for the number 10. Maybe a little bit further down in qualifying than he would have expected to be. But he will switch back onto the alternates. There are plenty of drivers that will struggle in some ways, you'd assume, relative. Seb Alexander, though, proving that the alternates have some decent tire life as he continues to put the attack onto the back of the Canadian Brian Carey. That mistake through the corkscrew after a great effort in qualifying has put Alexander on the back foot. You can't peg him down. Just 2 push-to-passes left, though. That is going to slightly impede the way that he's going to fight through the rest of this race. Especially knowing that Brian Carey is yet to touch the button. Has 10 push-to-passes left to defend with. We're not even talking about going on offense. It's going to be fun. Vince, that's all I know when it comes to the VCO IndyCar Challenge. June 29th, we head to the racing capital of the world to kick things off down on pit lane. Here comes Kevin Burrell in the Indy Alliance racing car. Badefer follows, no, Roseborough follows, in the Hydro Race Geodesic team machine. Mitch Welker also gonna find his way into the box. 4 Firestone tires to be fitted. And off and away they will go. Important as well, no mistakes from these drivers. Got to hit their marks, not slide through the box. Can't afford to speed either. And we've already seen Matsuda make the mistake on pit exit. It's so easy to do. They've all been very efficient though so far. Roseborough with the shortest pit stop of them all. And Kevin Burrell, where does he feed himself out? Shorter distance on the inside of turns 1 and 2. You can see Alexander fighting with Brian Carey directly in front of where these drivers are going to emerge. To the inside for the Indy Alliance racing driver. Passes the Powerslide Motorsports number 13. Burrell has got 2 cars between him and Roseborough. Alan Berteau and Matt Taylor in the Madworks car. Mitch Welker 2.5 off the back of the number 5. All as Agustin Canapino onto the push-to-pass and staying out for the additional lap. But here comes Krause following Carasala. They've gone long because they were scared of where the merge would place them. Kevin Burrell heads through Rainey. Just 2 more corners for him to navigate his way through. Tires maybe still coming up to temperature. Krause about to be placed onto the alternates, onto the preferred compound. The Indy Alliance racing car onto the power, onto the push to pass as well. Burrell will have it. The overcuts held him in good stead. There comes Kraus off and away. Welker's going to be alongside as well. Now where does Burrell feed relative to Carasala? Well in front. That's really ideal. And the 3 has played the strategy the way it exactly wanted it to go. On pit exit, Welker's fighting. Carasala into the gravel, loses 2. The overcut has worked nicely though. Or rather, undercut has worked nicely, excuse me. Shouty commentator doesn't know what he's talking about. Pit lane though for your leader. Oh, big slide for Welker. Now does Kraus have the chance? Has more grip without a shadow of a doubt. Into the lane, into the box for Hilgard, for Canapino, and for Betafer. They went 24 laps. They did exactly what they needed to. Made the alternates go as long as possible, and now off and away, one by one, they'll emerge. As Rob Malechka alongside of Augustin Canapino, not necessarily one to watch. Kevin Burrell going to be in a bit of a dogfight potentially with Brandon Roseborough. Keep an eye on them as they exit off of pit lane. In fact, excuse me, John Betafer in the other of the Hydra Race machines. 2 identically liveried entries, making it very, very confusing for the commentator in the booth. Mitch Welker still in front of Phil Kraus. And that tire compound graphic on the left will tell you the story. Michele Costantini has 6 seconds to close after the pit cycle. He's gained 21 positions. He's 1.3 behind Augustin Canapino. But Phil Kraus has a lot more work to do, unfortunately. He's still unable to find a way past. Suboptimal. Michele Costantini just run off the track. Such is his pursuit of Augustin Canapino. Is Phil Kraus going to jink to the inside through the final corner? Yes, he is. Somehow gets it stopped in time as well. Great job from the private label team Height with Powerslide Motorsports driver. Costantini passed the lap traffic in Rob Malechka. Both Welker and Kraus on the button. No move though. Welker too far behind. Couple of drivers making small mistakes at this point in the race. They're pushing hard. Welker there, another little bit of a slide. Just has to avoid running off the track. You can see how much grip that Kraus has got relative to those around him. Let's go back to the replay machine. Brian Carey. Some alternates for him, still finding his way off track somehow. And then for Seb Alexander. Oh, Seb Alexander, what's happened to you up through turn 6? It's a high-speed corner. Oh, and unfortunately, running onto the gravel, bit him. Gets out of dodge, backs out of the danger zone. Heartbreaking for Alexander, maybe just pushing a bit too hard here today. Check back in with Canapino. So Christian Hilgard last lap, 108.634. Augustin Canapino, 108.465. Michele Costantini, 107.823. Same compound of tire, 0.8 quicker than your race leader. Problem here though is he's got to make the move first on Canapino. And we know just how feisty the Argentine can be. Both here in the real and virtual worlds, Canapino has shown off and proven his mettle. Behind them as well, just keep an eye on the fact that Phil Kraus is trying to make his moves on those alternate compound tire. Now past Brandon Roseborough. Next up in line will be the next Hydra Race geodesic machine. It's John Betafer to make a move on. Barney the flagman is going to see that fight for second run its way up down through the opening corner, because yes, technically that is known as turn 1. You break into turn 2, the Andretti hairpin. Costantini started at the very back of the field after electing not to qualify. What can he do now? Oh, you see those hands. That car is really rotating from the rear. And again, this such an underrated track. The only thing that is maybe a problem about it, let's be honest, is those people that have decided that it's too noisy to live near a racetrack, to which I would argue more noise from race cars, please, up to a certain threshold. But every day we should allow race cars to be noisy, and Indy cars especially. What a wonderful noise they make. Porsches make some great race car noises as well. Not speaking from experience. Off into the gravel there for Lucas Lodato in the Bearcat Motorsports car. No major drama though. In terms of push-to-pass usage, Costantini still has 6 left to use. Canapino, on the other hand, has got 8, so he's got a couple more usages left to defend with if that's what he elects to do so with. But defense, as much as this particular track, is about placing your car in ways where you discourage the other driver from trying to make the moves. It's why moments like the great pass from Alex Zanardi up the top of the track are held in such high regard. Because of the bravery, the confidence, and the sheer amount of dare that it takes to do it. Rashad Craig, by the way, on the primary versus alternate compound battle. He's trying to make his way past a couple of cars. First up was his teammate Sam Carasala. That was relatively easily done. Costantini breaks with his right sides on the gravel. Oh, he's pushed too hard, and he's pushed himself off the track. There comes Malechka. Oh, yes, a couple of laps down, but still got to watch the rejoin. And now with 13 laps to go, is that the race win? Gone from Costantini's grasp. Phil Kraus is going to make the move on John Badefer. Could he still be in with a hunt for a podium spot? The eagle-eared among you will have recognized that I did say the race win is done only for Costantini. Austin Canapino could very well still bring this gap back down. Have to wait and see how the times are going to fare at the end of the day. 108.347 for Hilgard last time by, 108.399 for Canapino. So marginally slower, yes, but dealing with pressure as well. Out through Rainy Curve once more. So you can see how much Phil Kraus wants to make the move. He's got so much more grip as well. Oh, to the inside, through the final corner. Just about winds it down again. Badefer will try and take advantage. Phil Kraus doesn't even need to use the push to pass. Birel does, though, to try and cover. To the inside goes the black and gold, long way around to try and defend. But no chance. Move already made. Birel, 2 places lost in the space of that pit straight. And while they continue to file through that opening sector, there's the, do you want to call it optimism? Eagerness? Mistake from Michele Costantini. There's no other way to describe it. You can see him trying to get back into line. Oh my, poor Michele. And then the rejoin. Let's not even talk about that, because yes, Rob Malechka is 2 laps down, but at least Connery Maddox not around to see it or judge it. Rashad Craig passes Mitch Welker. This is that story of primaries versus alternates, just a reminder. You can see the black sidewall tire. Sam Carasala really struggling. Might even have a slowdown penalty or something, given how much time he's bleeding there. It's not easy to get a slowdown by any means, but it is possible here. And yes, Michele Costantini, or Michele Costantini. I don't quite know how I should say it. Canapino, though, is dropping back. Hilgard's re-establishing his advantage in the teal highlights on that number 6 entry. It's just calm. That's all he's trying to do right now. Was gifted the opportunity after the chaos and the bedlam at the start. Alexander, of course, spinning down through the corkscrew. There's Canapino out through the final corner in the green and black of Hoopos Hollinger Racing, and technically of Powerslide Motorsports as well. Gain last time by was about 4/10 for your race leader. So it is still lap by lap etching away. There you can see just confirmation. Lucas Lodato back down to pit lane, by the way. Timing.RaceSpotTV, your place to visit if you want to follow along with your particular driver. Only a handful of close fights right now, if we're being completely honest. Phil Kraus has checked out. He's closed on Costantini, but not totally. So Bader for Burrell, Roseborough Craig. 4 still fighting for 5th position. In what is, of course, a back-to-back road course round. Ooh, slow car. Rob Malechka trying to get out of the way. Not the easiest place to pass someone in terms of lap traffic, but they all make it work. We're off to the tricky triangle in a week's time, to the Pocono Raceway. That's going to be a fun one. 3 very, very unique corners, of course, modeled on different corners from a round of racing in America, including the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But, you know, set up there in warmer conditions, very much a compromise when it comes over to the cooler conditions. Maybe a bit more of a pack race. We'll see what we're in for in a week's time, though. Hoping that it's going to be fun. If you're a fan, by the way, of Aiden Matisse, look away on your screen, because unfortunately things have not all gone well for him up towards the corkscrew. What has happened as he enters? Oh, enters with a bit too much speed, unfortunately. Around goes the rear end, and fortunately doesn't lose too much more time. Still in 11th spot. Was a great qualifying effort from that 16. As Brian Carey on the alternate compound of tire starting to loom large in the mirrors. Only 5 or so seconds away with a faster compound. So one by one, drivers bleeding off their push to passes. Remember, they all start with 10 usages of the button. They're allowed to use them however they want. Gives them 60 to 70 horsepower more. Not exactly the same system used in the real world, but, you know, with each system, drivers must be forced to figure out the pros and the cons. And Rashad Craig seemingly amongst the most aggressive in the top 10. He's left with just 3. Roseborough 5, Burrell 5 as well. Hilgard's got 9, though. He's, again, beating cruise control. Very much looking up and down the field. Seb Alexander, I think, the only one that went a bit helter-skelter with them from the start, of course, by virtue of the spin and being forced to try and play recovery from then. So, leaders already crossed the line. 7 to go for Satellite Racing's Hilgard. Canapino within 5.3 seconds, but being held at arm's length. They are trading the push-to-passes back and forth now, up and down through the field. Phil Kraus is not far away from potentially making it a fight for the podium spots. But we have started to reach the crossover point. He was only 3/10 quicker than Michele Costantini at the line last time by. So always nice when you have a couple of different fights with which you can keep an eye on. Fight for 6th, fight for 3rd. 2 to watch for now. You know, less attritional race than I think anyone would have expected, really. Given that just Hayato Matsuda and Andreas Eich have had retirement. Eich with the crash, Matsuda with his incidents. Even Rob Malechka with his technical issues is still out there and circulating. So, always fun to see that. Five push the passes left for Canapino now, as they just continue dispensing with the extra fuel load as well that the consumption of the push to pass does have to account for. But at the end of the day, you don't want to be left with a count of push-to-passes. The goal is to be left with 0 come the checkered flag. I was doing some driving actually this weekend in the Dallara IR18. Oh, what fun it is. Best car on iRacing. The way the tire compounds work as well. And now they have an official iRacing AI season that you can use if you aren't particularly fond of racing online and, like me, you don't trust your pedals and stuff to hold up. Rashad Craig very close to the back of Brandon Roseborough, but not really. Again, a passing spot is the corkscrew. He is on the alternates, but alternates that have done the best part of 12 laps so far. Crazy thing is, Vince, I use my rig more than people know. And when I jump into test sessions with my teammates at Powerslide Motorsports, I'm not that far off the pace either, if I'm being honest. So I'll take that. Now, consistency, we don't need to talk about that part. But one that pace, that's different. Vince saying that I always say that I never use it. You see, Vince? How do I say this gently? How do I say this in a way that you're actually going to believe me in the future as well? Never trust a commentator. We're terrible. We lie a lot. We make up stuff. All that jazz. Oh, Phil Krause. What have you done, Phil? First it was Michele making the mistake. Now it's Phil Krause making a mistake. How dare they? Ruining and interrupting any chance of a fun little battle in the closing stages. Now, was that the inside curve? Don't think this onboard angle is actually going to give us the best look. This one will be slightly better. Oh, he turned in early. Oh, yeah. Look at the left front, just up and down on the suspension. Oh, that was, yeah. Not exactly what I think he had in mind. 2.3 away from Costantini now, who surely we're just 4 to go. Krause doesn't even have time to catch Costantini, let alone make the move. Costantini, fastest car on track except Phil Krause in the last handful of laps, so I think that battle officially done and dusted. Our eyes can stay peeled onto Burrell, to Roseborough and Craig, 2 Indy Alliance racing cars sandwiching the Hydro Race Geodetic Racing entry. Fly up through turn 6. Out wide. Does Craig get the run? Surely not. And Concertina back up, down through the corkscrew. But I think for Rashad Craig, the issue here is going for a move on Roseborough. Might end up being a bit risky. 3 to go for your leader. Canapino still trying to use the button, but he's now 5.8 seconds away from Christian Hilgard. Mitch Welker's joining the fray for this fight as well. And talk of the different tire strategies. On board with Matt Taylor, who's on the alternate tires. Slightly grippier, let's not forget. And you can see Liam Quinn in front, like a snake all over the track, but one that's got no grip. That Team Talent machine bounces and clatters over the inside curb. Both on the button, availing themselves of the remaining push-to-passes they have available. And will they go down to the inside? No. Matt Taylor going to play the long game and try and set this move up. You can see the car just doing a four-wheel slide off the corner, though. And as they come out through turn 1, your leader about to do the very same thing as well. Phil Krause is going to jink to the inside of Austin Espety. He's not far away from Costantini. 2 to go. Krause is giving it his all. So is Rashad Craig, the second best driver who started on the primaries. And I think Brandon Roseborough has got to slow down. Will Mitch Welker make the move as well? Shimmies to the outside. And down to the Andretti hairpin. Roseborough is going to make his life difficult. Give him the old Monterey squeeze here. Almost off into the gravel. Welker backs out. Again, this is the very bottom part of the dry lake bed. You begin the climb. on the right-hand side, on the exit of turn 5, there's the infernal noise hut. So if you ever go to a track day at Laguna Seca, you didn't hear it from me, but lift out of turn 5. Oh, maybe lift out of turn 6 as well. Mitch Welker hits the inside curb, and now Sam Carasala's right onto his case. Big chaos up and down through the field, but not for your race leader. White flag in hand. Barney the flagman gets ready to wave it for about 70-odd seconds as the field streaks to the line. And Christian Hilgard's got a parade lap left in front of him. Everybody in the closing stages going to be on their final push to passes. Only Agustin Canapino and Mitch Welker begin the final lap with no push to passes left to use. Everyone else has left themselves with something in reserve. I think especially important, knowing that mistakes have been still quite possible. Nail biter, excuse me, for some. But through the field, so many different stories being weaved. Some of sorrow and some of joy. Remember, Seb Alexander, the spin through the opening couple of corners and opening laps, costing him dear, but opening up the margin for this driver to take advantage from pole to victory lane. Christian Hilgard, Satellite Racing, on top at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. On the best coast of the US, Agustin Canapino grabs second, and Michele Costantini not far behind in third after starting at the very back of the field. A story of what if, maybe what if for Phil Krause as well, if he hadn't made that small mistake making his way through the fields on the alternate compound of tire. Second hardest working flagman in the world of global motorsports, behind of course Aaron Likens. As Barney the flagman continues to greet the rest of the drivers, Liam Quinn, Matt Taylor battle to the line, and with Taylor on the outside into the final quarter, deep onto the brakes, a bit too deep. Too confident with the extra whip afforded by the alternates, and Liam Quinn will hold on to 13th spot in what looked like a rather fun and enticing battle in the mid-pack of the field. There's the donuts officially now in the books for your race winner, and just waiting for one more driver to cross the line before the race results officially become official, just barring the intervention of race control. What does Nimcross have to say about this race? Well, only the drivers will know. We'll take a look at the provisional race results. Hilgard 6.278 seconds clear of Agustin Canapino in that Satellite Racing number 6 entry. Michele Costantini gains 21 positions to be scored on the podium, with Phil Krause, the first driver, starting on the primary compound of tire in the private label team hype with Powerslide Motorsports machine. John Bader for 5th for the Hydrace Geodesic Racing machine, and then Kevin Burrell, Rashad Craig, pair of Indy Alliance Racing drivers in front of Brandon Roseborough, with Mitch Welker, Sam Carasala, the rest of the top 10. 11th for Aidan Matisse, who lost 5 positions after a very good effort in qualifying. Ryan Carey, 12th for him, 13th for Liam Quinn in front of Matt Taylor, and 14th Alan Berteau, and 15th. Seb Alexander down in 16th for him with Nick Sudik, Austin Espity, Olivia Hayward and Lucas Lodato down through the top 20 and finishing alongside of Rob Malechka. Node Bechaku Emeluadu is 6 laps down in the 24 machine, but in front of Hayato Matsuda and Andreas Eick in the number 8, not for Team Talent, but instead for Powerslide Motorsports. Well, an interesting 42 laps, that is for sure. Let's see if we can catch up with some of the drivers. And beginning, of course, down in victory lane with Christian Hilgard in that Satellite Racing car. Christian, pole position, and then chaos down through the corkscrew, and chaos from which you never looked back. How do you feel about that race win and the comfort with which you showed with the car and the balance around 42 laps of racing action? Christian, do we have a copy with you? It seems as though he's so excited we may not have a copy with your race winner. May still be spraying the virtual champagne. Unfortunate. Was looking forward to having a chat with him, but we'll see if we can dial him back up in a few moments' time. Maybe we'll get Michele Costantini, although probably doubt it. He's a little bit, I'm sure, ready to get to sleep, knowing it's the middle of the night for him. Let's see, one more chance. Can we dial up Christian Hillgard? Christian, do you have a copy? I think that, unfortunately, means the answer is no. So we won't get a chance to have a chat with the drivers post-race today. Instead, we will try and make up for it next time we go racing. And what a race we're going to be in for from, well, the Pocono Raceway, the Tricky Triangle. We'll make our way over to Pennsylvania and to this wonderful landmark racing facility. 3 unique turns, all designed by and modeled off unique race courses around of America. I guess the real question is it 3 turns? Is it 5 turns? Is it 6 turns? You tell me. Pocono maintains it's a 3. What turn 4 if you ask them? Lots of fun, that was for sure, though, was had here today. And just a reminder of what lies ahead of us. The first time we've come to you with coverage of this 2024 Season 3 in the iRacing IndyCar Open Championship. And road course racing interspersed with the ovals. We'll mix and match our way through a busy month of July. And, of course, with the NTT IndyCar Series taking its break, with the Olympics as well, we'll have our chance to have some fun. Over to Interlagos, to Homestead, Miami, and to the streets of Chicago. That's going to be plenty of fun. Very, very interested and intrigued to see how it will all play out here live on RaceSpotTV. So glad you joined us here once again on a Monday night. We've got plenty more IndyCar coverage to come, and on Mondays is where the iRacing IndyCar Open Championship takes center stage. Coverage, though, to come this season on Thursday nights of the iRacing IndyCar Butt Kicker Pro qualifying series. So much for these focus in these Dallara R18s. And don't forget VCO IndyCar Challenge beginning on June 29th as well. We'll look forward to the summer of IndyCar. We've been waiting for it with the year that we had to wait. For our team behind the scenes at RaceSpotTV, it's time for me, Arjuna Kankipati, to bid you farewell from the best coast of the US. And from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, it's Christian Hillgard on top and dominant for satellite racing. See you next time.